All right, we are live. So, hello and welcome to Paranormal Psychic Network. I am Solana, and I'm here with Miss Christina, and Miss Bell will be joining us soon for our roundtable. This is going to be a conversation that is going to be both enlightening and a little frightening. But I don't want you to get scared. In fact, I want you to, instead of a knee-jerk reaction to what we're going to say, subscribe to our channel. Like what we say, comment on what we say and what we're doing here with our Paranormal Psychic Network. Let us know your experiences because there's so much that's going to be coming out. And I got to tell you, predictions being what they are, seeing what we've seen, there's going to be this is going to be a real eye-opening year, I think, for a lot of us in the paranormal. Oh my goodness, who is jamming out? What is that, Christina?
Ain't me.
It's what?
It's a UFO.
Listen, it's a UFO.
Listen, I swear. Listen. What is that? That's some creepy music.
That's some creepy music, and it makes me really feel kind of creepy.
Oh my God! What is that? I don't know. It's not me.
We're being taken over. I'm telling you, they don't want us talking about this stuff. You know, every time we try to, we get interference.
What is that? Why?
Why do we get interference?
Because every time we talk about UFOs, we get this weird music and stuff.
You know, it's supposed to be a secret. We're not supposed to talk about it.
Is that what it is?
We're supposed to leave it in the hands of the brainwashers to tell you what is up and what's going on. Because that's what's been happening. That's what happens today. I mean, my God, I'm 52 years old. I'm forever 29. That's all I'm going to admit to. But I was raised.
There's that noise again.
Oh, let's see, that even sounds more freakier.
I told you.
Yeah.
It's the government. I'm telling you.
Oh no.
Every time we get online,
I don't know.
we get that.
That sounds like it's fixing to.
Come
land
on.
on my head.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm getting more worried here.
Uh-oh. Look out. Look out.
Yeah. They're tapping into us. They know we're going to talk about them. That's what it is.
Oh my goodness. Do you feel the vibration that it's sending out too? It's like disperse and go home. Disperse and go home.
Tell it to leave, Solana. Tell it to leave.
Go away. Go away.
Tell it. Oh, it's not listening to you.
It doesn't. You think you got control over UFOs? Never mind. We can try. But yeah. I mean, really, I think that's one of the big reasons that our government doesn't tell us about the UFOs because they don't have a defense towards them.
No.
Or rather, and I got to say, maybe it's that they didn't have a defense right away. But from what I've been reading, they've got the defense today to knock them out of the sky. And in fact, that's probably what happened to the most famous 1945 UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico. Because they say that there was two UFOs that were down, and they've of course say that that for whatever reason, whatever energy, electromagnetic energy that was happening is what pulled them out of the sky. But I don't think so. I think they were shot down. Well, because by the 20s, the 30s, we already had the electronic technology. And I always go back to there's Miss Bell. Hey, Miss Bell.
Bell's in the house. Hey. Uh-oh. He's the one bringing the noise.
Am I the one making noise?
Did you hear that?
Is that you? Are you an alien?
Well, no.
And I don't want to make light of it, but oh my God. He could be.
No, it's possible.
Somebody's bringing some supernatural sounds to the show.
Okay. Well, supernatural things happen. And yeah. But yeah, I'm like, okay, cut that off. And then we'll bring this Bell on in just a second. Because there's hopefully there's a few other people I know that are in the chat room with us tonight that have some stories as well. We're not the only ones. I feel so fortunate to be in a group right now that I'm not the only one with the experience this time.
No way.
I'm so happy. I'm so very, very happy.
I'm so happy.
I'm so happy. I don't want. Okay, that's another story. All right. So anyway, but that the electronic world has been in operation and since the 1930s, 1920s, and what I was reading about where I was raised in the 60s was Fort Huachuca, Arizona, was a secret government base, and that I gotta tell you, this is for reals, people. You can't.
It looks
see
like
that
an Etch-a-Sketch. You got an Etch-a-Sketch?
Yes, Etch-a-Sketch. I'm just going to grab my little thing. But I want to keep going back to the Terminator every time I think about what happened on that base. Because their biggest opponent was Skynet, right? Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet.
Right? Well, what it's really called is NetCom. It's been in existence since the 50s. Yeah. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Y'all don't even know what that is, do you? Do you watch Terminator movies?
Mhm. Yep.
Y'all watch Terminator movies? You know what Skynet is, right? That is the evildoers' computer thing, and this is all cyber related, and it's all was created, developed, and implemented in Fort Huachuca. And that blew me away when I read that, because I'm thinking, oh my God, the stuff I experienced while living there, I can only imagine why I experienced it.
Salisbury.
Hello? Who's that talking? I heard someone say, is this Belle? Belle Salisbury? Or who said that?
I'm sure it wasn't me.
That was me. That was me.
What was it?
She heard me.
Oh, if you could mute yourself, Kathy. That's funny. I'm like, is that another spirit coming through? They need to talk to Belle. Bring Belle on.
Oh my
boom, boom. That's what I want. That's the. Ooh,
freaking me out.
I know, it's freaky.
I don't know, man. I'm just sitting here enjoying my time. So.
All right, stop. Everybody do the clap. Remember the clap on, clap off? Clap off.
It worked.
All right. Dang it. I used to have a clapper, too. I wish I had some. That would be awesome. All right, so anyway, let's bring on Miss Belle.
Clappers.
That was Miss Belle trying to talk over me. What?
I said, people that had the clappers.
Oh, those are pretty handy little things. I think they still sell them.
Handy dandy. I think they still
do. Yeah. But let's claps for Belle. Yes, claps for Miss Belle. Hello and welcome, Miss Belle.
Yeah.
Taking a swig. Thank you.
Taking a swig.
Swig out whiskey.
No, it's actually diet green tea.
There you go.
It has like lemon and lime and orange, and it's so good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Very cool. And real quick, I just want to say for those that may not know how to mute their mic, you can just go up to this, put your mouse over your screen, and it highlights these row of options at the top. And if you just click on the little gear, that's the settings. And then the next one is your band weight. Don't touch that one. The next one's your camera. Keep that off. And then the next one is your mute button. Click on that and mute yourself. And appreciate it. And if you want to invite anybody, you can click on the little invite people and have them come on with us as well. So if you would just mute your mics, and that way it doesn't take the screen off of the conversation. Because that's unfortunately what happens. They're like mic heavy here. Wherever the mic picks up, that's what the screen goes to. All right, so anyway, so tonight's roundtable is about UFOs, obviously. So let's get the conversation started with Miss Belle. What kind of information do you have for the topic?
Well, For a long time, I was sort of the opinion that they just don't exist. It's just something that was created to make people afraid, and then what really started to wake me up was the event of 9/11 and how our government was too quick to kind of cover stuff up. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I began to be untrusting of our government. And so I started doing a little bit of research or looking into Area 51, which, as everyone knows, is quite popular um, with supposedly um, alien uh, capture. Okay, and then I was starting to be a little bit more of a believer. But what really sold it for me was when I was doing a reading in upstate New York, and a young couple came in to sit with me for a reading. And the young man, the first thing that caught my attention was his eyes. They looked reptilian to me. They were, now I've seen hazel eyes, but his eyes were gold. Kid you not,
Ooh.
they were gold. And they were shaped like footballs. They looked reptilian to me.
Uh-oh.
They were,
Oh,
That's okay.
I've seen hazel
Next
eyes.
one coming in. Go right ahead.
Okay. And so that was the first thing that caught me. So then I start to, and as most of you know, when I'm doing readings, I tap into energy. And when I tapped into this young man's energy, it was strange to me. It was strange. When I'm doing readings on someone, the energy kind of flows. Let's say, for an example, a person's energy waves this way, the up and down waves. This man's energy went opposite that. It went this way. And so it was very confusing, conflicting to me. It didn't feel right to me. And so when I started doing his reading, um, I don't know how to explain it, guys. It was like 100 voices in my head all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked him, I said, is there a question that you want to focus on? Is there something that I can help guide you with? Because I didn't know where else to go with him. And he said to me, I just want you to help me go home. And I said, oh, okay. What do you mean, go home? And
Where's
he
home?
goes, I don't know. He said, I don't know. And so I said to him, I said, let me ask you a question. Are you drawn to the alien belief? And he just kind of looked at me like, oh my God, how did you know? And he said, maybe. And I said, okay. Well, that kind of ended the reading because I just couldn't tap into him. And I told him that honestly. I said, I'm just not, picking up on you, but I just know that your energy is very strange. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from friends of this young couple. He killed his infant child, sliced his partner, his girlfriend's throat, did not murder her, but came darn close, and then killed himself. And all the while, he kept telling her, I want us to all go home.
Wow.
And that hit me. That struck me with this young man's plea. And I felt like I failed him because, I could have done more, maybe should have done more. But, it was when I go on tour like that, I have dozens of people scheduled back to back to back. And I didn't have the time. And that's sad to say, but I didn't have the time to give him, what I feel like now I should have. And so here's this young mother who not only lost her infant son, but she lost her partner too, and nearly cost her life. So and
So do
and
you
all
feel
I
like it was like alien
I,
energy?
I do
And
I do and it's more hindsight,
mm-hmm.
as I thought about it, because I mean I must have thought something to have even questioned him about it during the reading. and he was so evasive about, well, maybe, like he didn't know if he could tell me or not, or if he could trust me or not. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
After the fact was the confirmation that I got was this man was indeed alien, but not only that, he was consciously aware that he was alien. And
Whoa.
folks, when I say alien, I don't mean that they're little green monsters, that are embodied in a human suit, because many of us as human, I believe now that there has been interstellar, relations that has
Hmm.
created, offspring.
Right. Some would say the human race was genetically engineered and mixed DNA with Anunnaki. I think it is the oldest label that they've given them, and that was, from what we understand, that's been trillions and billions of years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
That and they've littered and littered. They've spread.
yeah,
It's kind of littering, but they spread that seed, and modified it as well. You
yeah,
know, and
yeah.
modified it, and can infiltrate it, and can make you feel and take on the persona of another being. And
I believe that.
yeah, I mean, and I've dealt with people who have no energy system whatsoever because they're
Hmm.
clones.
Hmm. And Diane is asking a good question. She says, "But why kill his child and then try to kill the girl?" And that's a really good question. And then of course Janie responds with, maybe he thought that they would be with him wherever they went. My answer to that, Diane and Janie, is that I feel like he couldn't stand living in the skin he was in, if that makes sense.
Hmm. And there's actually a scene in the miniseries that's actually going to start playing again this Saturday on El Rayo TV here. But in the miniseries V, there were actually several of the interbreedings that took place, and there were several of the beings that couldn't take the skin that they were in. They couldn't.
Yeah.
They couldn't take the way that they looked, and when they looked in the mirror, the way they were supposed to feel, but they certainly didn't feel.
And if
Yeah.
we think about the anthropomorphic fallacy, where we tend to superimpose human emotion on an animal, okay,
Hmm.
um, we crossbreed animals. We mix a Pekingese and a poodle and get a Pickapoo, you know, or a
Yeah.
Cocker Spaniel and a poodle and get a Cockapoo, you know.
Hmm.
We intertwine animal species to get these cute little adorable puppies,
Sure do.
or
Hairless puppies,
yeah,
hairless cats.
exactly.
Hmm.
I had some friends that had hairless cats. They were the
Oh,
funniest looking
freaky.
things, but they actually used the
They're
toilet.
so cute. But
They
oh
trained
my
them to use the toilet
god.
and flush.
Oh my goodness.
Craziest
Well, you
thing I've ever
can.
seen in my life. But if you wonder that, if we can do that with animals, with species, you know, um, then why can't we do that with alien and human embodiment?
Most certainly, and we can, and Nikki, and I got to say hello and welcome, Nikki. And I
Yeah.
muted you, and anyone else that comes in during this show, I'll just go ahead and mute you because it can be hard to find the mute button. But anyway, she's asking a good question, just talking about, saying, talking a little bit more about the cloning, and the cloning is a big thing that's been going on here again,
Hmm.
for I want to say millennia. But for what they will tell us, scientifically speaking, they've been talking about it in the public since 1984 when they came out with the first test tube babies. That's cloning. And the test tube situation, not that's what they called it. That's what they showed you. But that was just a brief little glimpse of the way they started this cloning process. Is in the tube, and creating the embryo that way.
Hmm.
But from what I see, they can create a body. They can create another entity, another being.
But
But what
we're
they
also
can't
creating hearts. We're
but well, heart of the whole organ. But what they can't create is the spark of spirit. That doesn't happen in these
So
cloned beings. Well, the clone that I know of, that I did the reading on, and he has no energy system whatsoever, let me know that his family what came out of the Millennia Project, which if you look at the Millennia Project today, you're going to see it as a green, peacekeeping organization. But back in the 1920s, it was the Millennium Project was the cloning project that was happening over the next millennia. In other words, cloning's been happening for millennia. And
yeah,
they do it with sheep, they do it with cows, they do it with pigs. They're
goats.
cloning body parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian asked a good question. He said, "So do you believe he was truly not conscious to his true being?" I think it's quite the opposite, Brian. I think he was conscious of who he was, but didn't want to be here. That's what I think. And I think that impression or that feeling came in with him at birth. I think he didn't want to be here from the very beginning. So does that lead question to why was his free will taken away? Or what was the purpose in that? I'm not sure. I mean, I wished I'd been able to spend a lot more time with him. Now, as I said, hindsight, I wish I had taken more time. I would have canceled my whole day just to be able to talk with this gentleman and work with him. But, again, hindsight. But so I think he was consciously aware of who he was, you know. But I just think, like I said, I don't think he was happy in his skin.
And good question, because it's like when you said that that he had conscious knowing that he was this other being and wanted to go home, that he knew that, and I think that that was probably his true being,
Yeah,
and that he just, he unconsciously knew that, so consciously he couldn't handle being here. It's kind of like his sister Brian, she's from another planet,
yeah.
another
Well, somebody
galaxy.
asked how old he was. Somebody asked me how old he was. He was actually very early 20s. I think he was 22 at the most.
Wow.
Yes, he was very young.
Mhm. Yeah. So, and yes, Janie, they have been
Yeah,
cloning forever.
since
And I mean, they only don't.
before I
If
was
they're
born.
telling you, about it, then they've been doing it for hundreds of years. Just like with the netcom that's come out of the Fort Huachuca. Fort Huachuca has been, that's been in use. Actually, they use wireless. They use all this back in the 40s. And when did we find out about it? Not until the 90s and the 2000s.
And Nikki's asking, other than the direction of the energy for the reptilian man, were there any other differences in his energy field? It was his energy field, Nikki, was very, what I described as being chaotic, because it didn't have any rhyme or reason. Because for a basic flow of energy, we have waves, and they all move in the same direction. Do you know what I'm saying? They all move like this. His energy was cross-hatched, then it would go up and down. It was just very chaotic. And so I don't know if that was his normal, energy flow, being of alien origin, or if it was the state of mind he was in at the time. Because we can, you know what? That's, oh my
That's
God,
true.
Brian, you've got it right on the, just ding, ding, ding. As soon as I read that, it was a
Mm-hmm.
shield, and that explains, Brian, why I was not able to really tap into his energy to get the full truth of
Mm-hmm.
his presence.
Right. Wow.
Ding, 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 ding.
Right.
Gold star for Brian.
And I
As soon
believe
as
so,
I read
Janie.
that, yeah, as soon as I
Yeah.
read that, it was like, zzz, so that's what I
Yes,
meant
data
when I said a
distorted.
great statement. Yeah,
Hmm. Very
yeah.
true. I mean, there's so many things that are shielded that we can't see, and they have technology to be able to shield. Okay, it's not just that they can do it energetically like we do. They have actual technology that helps keep them in their little egg, little shields, if you
And
will.
I'll tell you, I know many of you have seen Men in Black.
Hmm.
Such a cool movie. But when
Hmm.
they showed that big screen and they had all these people who were aliens, Oprah Winfrey, Sylvester Stallone, your first grade teacher, and they were showing him all these people, who were on their radar as being alien origin. And I think that that's probably more true than we realize.
Hmm.
Because I've
Definitely.
always said to people, especially those who create movie scenarios, those who write movies or write books and write stories, and their ideas seem to be so far-fetched, right? But my consensus is that they probably aren't far from the truth, because if it did not exist, you would not be able to create it. You would not be able
Completely.
to imagine it.
Totally. I've
Because
I've talked and read so much on producers, directors, people who, authors, writers, and a lot of them have dreams, and the information just comes to them, and they
it
wake up and
comes to
then,
them and they write it.
yeah,
Just like
exactly.
the lady who wrote Twilight, the Twilight series, the
Yes.
books,
Mhm.
she said it all came to her as a dream.
Yeah. I believe it. I
So
mean,
I think that aside
mm,
from them being vampires, I think they were aliens more so than vampires.
right. Very, very possible.
Yeah.
Because again, and when talking about, dogs, cats, different animals, you can look at Andy Lakey. Andy Lakey, if you've never heard of him, he is one that had a near-death experience, and he, came out of it with this new ability to do this art that even the blind people can see. You
Hmm.
can rub your hands over it and know it and read it. But in any case, he did a book series on all the different beings that he saw on his travels during his coma, and a lot of them were animals. Different, not what we would call like an animal, but like even in the book that I wrote with Sitar, it's like got these tall bird-looking security officers that can talk and think, but they look like birds. So there's all different kinds of species, and
Yeah.
and not only that, but Chris had put in here, what other could they be making? And it's also known that what we want to say are the grays, the short, fat, stubby, long-armed, are genetically engineered, biogenetic. So they are created, cloned as well. What did you, does
I
anyone
just
see the alien
I'm
reptilian
shocked
body
with,
guarding
yeah,
Obama?
I haven't seen that video.
No, but it comes one out for every president. I got to tell you, Chris.
Wow. See, this is a
Um,
whole new category for me as a believer, if you will. And it was that young man that, really clinched removed the block that I had, that
mhm.
aliens were just, control factors. But I think
Well,
there's
they're
a
also
whole new,
humanoid. They're
yeah.
also very humanoid. I mean, there's some very tall looking that are, but they look human. They're, they head, you know,
Hmm.
10 fingers, 10 toes. They look very human. So you can't tell if they're alien or not. When we think of an alien, we think of the grays. That's
Yeah.
when I talk to people about what they think an
The more
alien look
popular,
like,
yeah.
it's going to either be the gray or it's going to be the white, oval shaped,
And
drawn out chin.
I've heard that the reptilian were not very nice people.
No, they're very, very mean. They're, in fact, but again, one that has been here longer than us humans. The reptilian species is, across the galaxy. They're not just limited to this planet.
Yeah.
But they're not mean. They're mean. They're very mean. They're very aggressive, very violent. And they're part of the thought that they feed from our energy. They're one of the species that they don't eat. One of the stories is that they eat people. No, they feed from your energy.
Those are the energy vampires.
Hmm. Yes, yeah, the energy vampires, most
Interesting.
definitely.
Interesting indeed.
What did Brian say? He came to you, Bell, because he detected that you might be able to read the energy field beyond him. He was hoping you could connect to his connection rather than his own energy.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Brian. He says he didn't want a reading. He simply wanted to look for a connection. In other words, I think that maybe he didn't have, um, I think he suspected that he was not of this earth. And I think he wanted someone to see that, someone to agree with that. That's what I think.
Yeah, he didn't want a
And
reading. He was
and that's
looking
why
for a
I said,
connection.
and unfortunately, I was in that reading mode
Mm-hmm.
where, I was just readings back to back to back to back, and I feel bad, for the outcome, because like I said, I wish that I had, recognized his desperation and spent the day with him.
Well, and I got to tell you, there are other beings here that again, they look like us, but they are reptilian. Underneath, it's like they can put this skin over them. I was actually dating someone, and I couldn't figure out why he always wanted to bite on me and stuff. I was just like, what are you doing? Then one night, I went to go meet him with a group of his friends. I hadn't met any of his friends until this night, right? So I go to meet with him at this bar, and I go in, I say hello, he introduces me to everybody. I sit down, and right away, Spirit's just like giving me that tingle, and pay attention, watch. And so I'm like, okay, what? And he's like, Spirit said, close your eyes. So I closed my eyes, and they said, open your eyes. And as soon as I opened my eyes, everyone around that table, including the guy I had been dating, had a reptilian head.
Wow.
And then I closed my eyes again and opened them back up, and they were back to their normal faces, their human-looking faces. And I politely excused myself and left. I didn't talk to him again. So even the reptilians can look human.
Well, let me propose a question for you and the chat room, and I think that I want Christina to weigh in on this.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the reptilian being ugly people, and I don't mean that physically. I mean just not very nice people. And I just it just hit me. So and I'm trying to get it formulated in my wee little brain to come out right. Is it possible that a lot of the violence that we are seeing today, mass shootings and the coldness of people that like someone said, there's no energy, so there's no emotion, there's no feeling, there's no compassion. Could these individuals who are perpetrating these acts be alien?
Want to go first, Chris?
Well, yes and no. I think that we do have humanoid people walking around that are bred with alien seed, and are kind of like the Abel and Cain seed. There's bad and there's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that some of the alien seed here are bad and are, yeah, most definitely are causing chaos in the world. But also with working with shadow people and doing extensive research and things like this, I believe shadow people are attaching to human people and kind of taking over and causing these people to do horrific things. Kind of like the devil made me do it kind of scenario. Yeah. When you go to prison, you go to jail, and he's like, hey, the devil was telling me to do this, and and they're saying, oh, you're crazy, you've got mental issues. No, I do believe it's an attachment from a shadow person that's causing this, because he needs to feed off that energy of fear and chaos. Like she said, like Solana said, the reptilians feed off of our energy. And the more scared we are, that's why they love children, because children's fear is so pure. But they love to feed off fear. They love to feed off chaos, anything that's evil or bad. Mm-hmm. And so I think that they do manipulate. Some people are easy to attach to more than others. If you're living in a very low vibrational world, mm-hmm. Let's say you're a drug addict, or you're an alcoholic, or it could be many things.
Any kind of dysfunction.
Yeah. Dysfunction, exactly. I think it's a lot easier for these entities to attach to you, and your guards down more, and so they infiltrate in that way and cause chaos and anarchy, murder, things like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I do too. I think that they are definitely here. They definitely can infiltrate, and they can cause all kinds of havoc and chaos in our world. But I also want to say that from what I've been reading, they also have the technology to simply spot someone with satellite, hone in on that person. I think we've all seen the TV show, or the news rather, where they've shown you a satellite view, and they can get that satellite view and read a credit card. Okay, that's how close in they can get on you. That's how close in they can target you. And with the netcom, they can actually target you and beam energy down onto you. And what's it going to make you do? It's going to make you do whatever that beam of energy is telling you to do. And they can make you do horrific, horrible things that you would not have otherwise done.
Isn't that freaky? That's scary.
That
Are we really in control?
No. I'm doing
like,
the cake dance.
We're like
I just
puppets.
want cake
We're
because
like
that's
puppets.
how I feel. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I need a paint job then. Update.
Don't you
I'm
wish you
just kidding.
could?
Just kidding.
No.
Whoever's tuning in.
No, I know, right? Because they could bring you down.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of scenarios going on here that people don't even think about, though, because, again, we only know what we know. We only know our little tunnel and our little bubble of what we read, what we're exposed to, what we watch on television,
What we believe.
And that forms your beliefs. So if you're someone who was, not exposed to an alien experience when you're younger, not exposed to a paranormal experience when you were younger, and growing up, not exposed, why would you believe? Until that something happens, most people don't believe, because when it's, as long as they're in that tunnel, that's the brainwashing, is to keep you in that tunnel, not to believe, not to look outside the box, not to think anything outside the norm of what they want you to think. That's scary to me.
Yeah, it is.
I don't want to be in a bubble. Like,
I mean, if you think about it, it makes you wonder, is my spirit guide, who I believe to be my spirit guide, really my spirit guide? Or is it somebody with a big old microphone up somewhere on some space station going,
I gotta tell you
"You read this?"
that's a very good thing to point out, because that happens. And not only does it happen to where that you think it's your spirit guide, but you might think it's your soulmate on the other side come to manifest beside you in that energetic way, and fall in love and make love and do all kind of what?
In spirit, with a
And,
spirit.
but you believe, and he tells you.
Yeah.
But you don't have no life outside of that, because it's like a relationship. And Christina, I mean, we've heard this before, and so it's like it happens more than people think. But, if you're not exposed to that kind of story, you're not going to know that can happen. So if it happens to you, you're going to think it's some spirit guide that's there to do you. Discernment, people. Because it can happen. Spirit can actually infiltrate. And just because we're spiritual doesn't mean we're not susceptible, okay?
Exactly.
I mean, I do Reiki, and I do what I call astral Reiki. So I'll do Reiki on anybody around the world. And I had this one client that I was in a Reiki session with, and all of a sudden, the energy started breaking into my session and making me feel like he was attacking me. And making me feel like he was doing sexual advances on me. I had to jump up and stop the session, and I was just like blown away. That I was pissed, really. I was really mad. The spirit could, allow that kind of infiltration.
Yeah.
So it does make you wonder.
Yeah.
Really, what are we dealing with? So when people say they want to be psychic and they want to, I'm like, be careful. You're opening yourself up to a whole other world. So do some reading, and then have a belief system that is not so stringent, and so anything is possible, because anything is possible. I think we find out every day when we hear about crazy crap going on in this world. Anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And then somebody, was asking about, when I said, how do you know that what you're hearing or what you're feeling is truly your spirit guide? And of course the answer is you know your guide's energy, you know how it feels, intuitively that is your spirit guide versus, some other alien thing. And Janie says, I know my guide and what they feel like, and they've always said good things. And that's the truth, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Your spirit guide is never going to ask you to do something that goes against your free will, or tell you to do things that would harm another.
And about that free will thing. Yeah,
I know, right?
my guys bug me. My Jacob bugs me and bugs. I mean, he bugged me to make the videos. He wanted to make a video himself, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this stuff. So he told me though everything was in my computer. Just open it and you'll see. And oh my God, there it was. I had never made a video in my life. But anyway, it was all they can get pushy, but it's not in a way that it's But he was on me for a couple of months until I made those videos.
That's cool.
Definitely. I'm like, okay, I'm making the damn videos, right?
So Brian says he wants to weigh in. What say you, Brian?
Sorry, I was talking and I was muted. I hit the mute button. I was speaking, but nothing was coming out. So anyways,
That happens. Go
That's
ahead.
that free will thing we were talking about. I don't know.
there's something ironic to this whole subject that I always bring up to people, especially atheists. I think I love atheists the most when it comes to this topic because a lot of people don't want to believe in God. They don't want to believe in religion or spirituality. They just want to believe in a neutral zone, which you just cease to exist when you're done. But the ironic part of this is hey, well, do you believe in aliens? You believe in life outside this planet. You believe that there could be life in other planets and other universes, and the majority of them say, of course. It'd be stupid to think we're alone. So one of the things I like to focus in on is especially light workers and people that consider themselves light beings like we do. And then let's bring up the religions that believe in a heaven or a life after Earth or after your body. The thing that you got to remember is, well, when you leave your body, where do you think you're going? You think you're going into an alternate dimension that's parallel to this one, or do you think you're going to another planetary system to exist as the being that you are, harvesting this body or controlling this body? And the thing is obvious. When you leave this body, you're going back home. You're going back to a planetary system of light beings, and that's in a different universe. And we all feel that connection. So when you start bringing in the reptilians and the greys and the different species that could be around us, absolutely. And we are a part of that. And it all interconnects with the spirituality. Try to view it more on a physical basis. So where is heaven? Heaven, I believe, is a place we could go to if we had the technology and the ships to actually take our bodies there and make it before we actually deceased. So I think it's a place that's real. It has to be real. And not just real in our minds, and people seem to look at it as a fairy tale sense, and they like to believe that this is a place we go when we die, and then that's the last story that you hear of it. But I think it's all interconnected. And once you have that acknowledgement, once you have that energy basis, like even you're telling your story, Belle, about the young man, immediately I started looking into it, and I just felt the sense. I felt his connection. I felt where he was coming from. I felt his sense where he was aiming his destination. I detected his shield. And that's all a natural barrier, and that's one of those things that, once you're open to who you truly are and what we are, not just as human beings, but as beings of the universe, and where we go after this body, and what happens, and how physical it truly is. It's an amazing perspective that you gain.
Mm.
It is interesting. It is. And one day Brian will have to have a discussion, a round table on belief systems, because I'm with you, but I've actually been working on a book that's being channeled, and one of the chapters in the book is heaven, and this spirit comes through and tells me a lot about what happens to us when we transcend this physical body. So we'll have to have a chat. I think that would be interesting concept, an interesting talk.
Mm. I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
I'd like to in on that one too. We'll make that another
Oh,
round
I'm
table
always in
for
on
sure.
that.
No, but you make a good point though, and everything is energy. Everything's interconnected,
It is.
and when we move into spirit, for for whatever the umpteenth time that we're doing it, it's not like we move into a knowing where we just get to know all that stuff. It's a process to take in everything that we've been through here. So that tells me that even though we are a spirit, we still have so much it impacts us. So that's energy. Everything's interconnected through that energy. It impacts, like the life review you go through. It impacts you, and it impacts the person it goes through, and it impacts the people in both of your lives. So that's the energy. And I believe that we still feel that and know that, when we move on, hopefully. I think that, for those of us that want to say that we know, we don't have to go through that review because we've done that forgiving and that forgiveness and that, process here. I think that's the
what we're
goal, is to
doing right
get.
now.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing right now.
Exactly. I think that's the goal, for us to get to that place where we're already in that mindset before we go there, so we don't have to go through so much. Oh my God, it takes years. It took 3-4, years for friends of mine that passed away to come talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, once they did get there, they told me all the shit they had to go through to get to that point.
It's almost like a computer program. They had to be deprogrammed.
Yeah,
from
exactly.
various or many lifetime experiences that they had.
Exactly, because everything we go through is a jolt to our system. When we look into the chakra system, you can actually see that scarring, and it's left in several different ways. But all these things come together. So when we talk about UFOs, I've actually had people that have had experiences where they really felt that it was a stage. Like it wasn't real. Kind of like what they're saying about the moon landing, how it was supposedly filmed. And there's an actual director that's going to come out and on his deathbed tell you that he filmed it. But that it actually happened as well. But they do a backup because that's the government. They've always got a plan A and a plan B. There's always something else going on over here.
Even though they're really be deceptive.
Yeah, but but it was like a stage, though. They felt more like it was, a show. It was like over the top is the expression. And I've never had anyone say that, no, you don't have too many people rather say that when they have an alien experience, it was over the top. But this person happened to be very intuitive, so it was like, okay, I believe that, and so that just gets you going into more. So a lot of the stuff that we experience here, paranormally, energetically, can actually be things that is holographically implanted here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real. It's holographic. And I believe that because of shit that I saw on Fort Huachuca.
Yeah.
Come on.
Why is it that there's certain locations that are more privy to alien experiences than others?
I think it's just the population,
The
density.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because there's a lot of UFO experiences that happen in places that have, far and few between in cities and towns.
Mm-hmm.
Small little, if you can even call a post office and a hotel a town, which is a lot of places here. Yeah.
That's
so that. But I think it's because of density. But it does happen in cities and stuff too. Who said
Me. I'm trying to get a word in here.
Oh, go ahead.
It's Christina.
I'm sorry.
Yay,
I'm sorry.
Co-host of our show. Welcome. Come on.
I don't want to interrupt because you guys are on a roll. But we do have a few people in standing in the corner over here in the chat room. I would love to hear their story. We have about 12 minutes left. A couple of them have some really interesting stories, and I know that Janie has one, and so does Diane. So if we could maybe pull Diane in real quickly and let her tell us her UFO story, and then maybe Janie, we can get it all in. I know I don't want to cut you guys short, but I would love to hear their side too.
Oh no, I want to hear.
Definitely.
Okay. Awesome. Diane, you want to unmute? There you go.
Yeah. Sure. I unmuted. I don't need to put on my video, do I? I mean, I don't care.
No.
Okay. You're good.
Okay. I've had I'm not kidding you, quite a lot of experiences with UFOs. Up front, I'm talking close, very close. One actually chased us down, which is usually King Street in Greenwich, Connecticut. Usually kind of a really busy road, and the airport's not that far from it. We were leaving my grandma's house. And so what I saw out of the passenger side window, I just assumed was going to be an airplane until it got closer, and then it swung right behind our car, and we were like the only car on the road, which was unusual for that street. I started freaking out because I was looking at this thing through the back window, looking up at it, and it was huge. It was massive. And I told my mother, I said, do not stop, keep on going. And she's freaking, and she's like, what's going on? I said, I don't stop, Mom, that's all I can tell you. I said, It's you know, it's a UFO. I went to hang my head out the passenger side window, and it was gone. And I was in a panic, and I told her, I said, just keep on going. Just keep going. When we got home, we actually had lost time. And we had lost about an hour. And my mother didn't want to discuss it. When I had brought it up, I said, wait, why is it that time when it should be this? And she goes, I don't want to talk about it. And we didn't. We never talked about it. I had an incident where I was seeing this guy, and we parked up the street on a dead-end, road on our road, and we started making out, and all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. It felt like something had picked his car up off the ground, and it was literally shaking. I couldn't see anything. He was screaming, going, no, 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 and I'm going, what's going on? What's going on? And finally, it felt like the car had just been dropped to the ground. Boom. And and my feeling was that I felt like it was them. I can't explain it. I always knew when they were going to be around. So he got out of the car and he starts freaking, and I said, what happened? And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. There was a scrape on the side of his car that went all the way from the passenger side door to his driver's side door, and I looked, there was no way. His car never hit anything. I actually went back to the same spot the next day to see. There were no marks on anybody's lawn, nothing. There were no mailboxes down, there was nothing. But and to this day, he still won't talk about it. Nobody's been able to find out. And he stopped talking to me right afterwards, too. I can't say I blame him, because at that time I was having a lot of experiences. But the other thing was, I'm going to say something real quick. There was a time where I was out in the backyard. Now, by this point, I was already expecting, because I always knew when they were going to be around, so I'd go out there. But there was one that actually chased me in the backyard, and I ran from it because it scared me. The way it looked, the lights on it, I didn't like. All the other ones that I had seen never bothered me. But this one I felt was mean, evil, and I didn't like it. And I ran like hell to the back door. The door was locked. I'm screaming for my mother to open up the door. She comes to the door. She unlocks it. I fly in, slam the door, locking. She looks at me. She goes, oh, no, not again. I'm like, yeah. She goes, Diane, I don't want you going back out there again. I said, Mom, don't worry about it. I'm not going back out there tonight. Oh, no, 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 no. So, I mean, I have a lot more stories, but those were, kind of some significant ones.
It's very close to the Betty and Barney Hill story back in the 60s, and you're in the same area they were in with the loss of at least an hour's time lost. Yeah. You're out on a road all by yourselves, and who knows what happened. I'm sure something happened.
I have no idea. I even went to see Bud Hopkins back in the day, if anybody remembers him. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got tagged and bagged, you and your mom. And,
yeah.
Well, and they're watching you guys.
Mm-hmm. I don't doubt it any. Like I said, I used to, and I saw them a lot in the 80s, and I always knew when they were going to be around. I had that feeling, and then I'd step outside, and boom, there they were. But since and this was in Connecticut. Now, I now live in North Carolina. Since I moved here, I have not had any experiences except for about a year ago when my son and we were outside, and we saw one, and I hadn't seen one in years. And he's like, Mom, what is that? And I looked at him, and I said, well, baby, I said, that is a UFO. And I just knew, and he's just like, oh, my God, because it was huge. I'm like, holy smokes, I haven't seen one in years. What's going on? So, I don't know.
What part of North Carolina are you in?
Charlotte.
Okay, not too far from me.
Yeah, I'm in Charlotte.
Interesting.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So Nikki asked a good question. She said, is there a reason that some people are visited more often than others?
Yeah, the reason is the other people that don't think they're visited or don't remember.
Ah.
I mean, you saw the little pin and then in black, that little thing that they zap you with, that shit's real.
Yeah, that little thing, like, look at
They
the
zap
light.
you. Yeah. You will not remember this. You had a nice evening. You had a good steak dinner, and now you're going to go home and make love. Yeah. That was.
I don't believe everybody has been visited by him, though. No, not everybody. But, yeah, a majority.
Yeah, one form or another, we've been infiltrated.
I feel that they're selective.
I'm
That's
agreeing with Diane.
Yeah.
I don't think it's everybody.
I don't know.
Interesting.
From what I understand, they're not discriminated at all. Nobody's discriminated. Nobody. Everyone's susceptible. And anyone and everyone, if you want to think about it like this, if we're talking about it energetically, especially, that they can infiltrate you energetically. They're not. It's not just that you're going to have an alien experience or a UFO experience. That doesn't mean that you're not being visited.
Night,
Okay.
Kathy. Thank
And
you
it
for
also
coming.
doesn't. Oh
Night,
yes,
honey.
thank you. Good night.
Yeah.
It also doesn't mean that you haven't had an experience, because they can infiltrate and affect you in ways that you're not even don't even think about.
Mhm.
So when we talk about this planet, why are they going to pick this guy and not that guy? Because they don't see you as a this guy and a that guy. They see you as food,
Mm.
energetically. That's all they see you as. It's kind of like, the vampire or the freaking bed bugs. They see your heat signature. That's all they see you as. They don't see you as a human being other than your heat signature. They don't discriminate. Yeah, I know you're going to laugh about the bed bugs.
Don't you think that by now they're beyond wanting to examine us? I mean, haven't they been there,
It's
done
not
that?
about examining us.
Yeah, that's what Nikki was asking. Acceptable for what purpose? Surely it can't just be to examine us. And I'm like, I
Oh,
think they're
no.
beyond that. I don't think that they need that.
No, and they weren't examining us. They were taking sperm and your
Ovaries.
eggs. Yeah, no, eggs, not the ovaries, but the
Well,
eggs. I actually have one of my sisters has an experience when she was 18 years old at 3 months pregnant. She woke up, the baby was gone. There was no, you know how your body will leave a DNA signature of a pregnancy? They can do a blood test. No
mhm.
evidence of a fetus being inside her body. Everything was taken from her
Wow.
body. And she believes it was taken from aliens because, again, we were raised in the military. I think anybody raised in the military is susceptible, and so all kind of
You're an
energetic
army
stuff.
brat and proud of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm proud of what it represented, but I ain't so proud of what they've done. In fact, I'm seeking a lawyer and talking to a lawyer.
Really?
You're gonna sue the
Not
aliens?
real happy. Not real happy. No, not the aliens, but our government.
What? Oh.
Hello.
You
I thought
know,
she was gonna sue the aliens. I'm like, what?
that's a
Yeah,
whole
I could sue the aliens. Hello. I will bring it up in court. I certainly will.
that's a whole nother story, Solana, about what our
Yeah.
government has done to our soldiers. Because my father, there was a write-up about my dad in the newspaper several years ago where he shared an experience that he had being subjected to the atomic bomb so that they could see what the results would be against
Yeah.
these men.
Yeah,
You
that's our
know, what?
government.
Yeah. And
Agent
it's like, how
Orange. I
dare
mean,
they
yeah,
just even assume that these are expendable people. These are, and he didn't even have a right to say yes or no. They
acceptable
just woke him up
casualties.
one morning and said, "We are going on a mission," and he thought for sure they were heading to Korea. And they
Mm,
ended up here in the United States in a barren land. I think it was Las Vegas somewhere in barren land, and gave them equipment and said, "Shield your eyes, turn your back, and then wait 10 minutes and then turn around,"
right,
because they wanted to see what the effects would be.
right. Yeah. Hello. Our soldiers are guinea pigs. To say that, I feel like I was a guinea pig because we actually had to get immunizations before immunizations were, made legal in school, made mandatory. We were
Yeah,
getting them in the army, and so they, and I didn't travel overseas.
yeah,
But
just a lot of
anyway,
stuff.
I know I want to get Janie in before we have to take off out of here.
Yeah.
So Janie, you want to come in and tell us about your experiences?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hmm.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. Um, I was working in this is about 17 years ago, and I was working as a home health nurse at that time. And I had just gone to see my patient. He lived out in the country, and I got done. I was by myself, got on the road, driving down this rural road between where I live and Birmingham, Alabama. Well, which is about 40 miles difference. And I just happened to glance out the right side of my car and I saw a bunch of lights, different colored lights. And so I stopped in the middle of the road because there was nobody on the road, just me. And I stopped and looked at it closely, and I looked, and it was gigantic. Just like Diane said, it was huge. And it was hard to tell how big it was. I mean, I'm going to say in like a football field or close to it. I mean, I really couldn't tell you. And it was catty-cornered, so I could still see the whole thing and could tell the shape only by the lights, because the lights were everywhere on it, especially in the middle. And there were different colored lights. And I could tell that it was something like a saucer shape, but I couldn't say for sure. But it was something like that just by the color of the light. I mean, by the lights. And I thought, oh my God. I had always thought that if I ever saw one that I would stop, get out of the car, and look at it, you know. But I was really kind of skeptical. But I did have an open mind, and I really didn't believe it was going to ever happen to me. But I did have an open mind because I had seen spirits and things like that. You know, I thought, well, you know, I never know. But then I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm keeping my eyes on this thing because I heard that if you take your eyes off, a lot of times they're gone. Well, I watched it for a couple minutes, definitely a couple minutes, and it just hovered above me, but where I could see it. And I don't know if it was like tree level. It was not above the trees. I mean, it was not that high because I could see it clearly. Then I thought, well, maybe I should get out and really look at it, because that's what I thought I was going to do if that ever happened to me. But I couldn't. I just didn't. Well, not that I couldn't. I just didn't feel like I should. And I also thought, well, I stopped my car, but I hadn't turned it off. Well, a lot of people had told me, or I had read at different places, that if it's actually a UFO, your lights, something would happen to your car. I can't remember what they said. Your
car will die, battery
die
will
or something like that.
Yeah.
But it didn't. But I did turn the car off, so I could hear it, if I could hear anything. But I didn't hear anything. So then I thought, well, it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there. And so I thought, well, I'll turn my head, and maybe when I turn my head back, maybe it'll be there, maybe it won't. We'll see what people said, what I've heard, if it's true or not. I turned my head, then looked back, and it was gone. No trail, nothing, absolutely nothing. And it was pitch black outside, so I went home, and as far as time being gone, I didn't measure it, but I thought, my God, I must have stayed at that old man's house an awful long time, you know, because so I think, well, maybe there was time gone, but I didn't measure it. That was my only thought. Man, I sure stayed out late. And I just, you know, and I thought, well, maybe somebody else has seen this. Sure to God, it was gigantic. How could they not see it? How could they not see it?
I know.
That's what I still don't understand.
You know, and even if they did see it, it's like the Phoenix Lights. Thousands of people within a 12-hour period saw the same thing, yet they were made fun of until that it was what are those called? The flares.
Yeah.
It's not it was seen in both daylight and nighttime, and there's stories from New Mexico to California about this massive sighting of this thing. Here's the thing, though, people. Our governments have been making UFOs for the better part of 50 years, so we're not even sure if what we're seeing is not alien or is it real, is it man-made, you know?
So you're saying the government has been making UFOs?
Yes, ma'am. First UFO I saw was coming off the base of Fort Huachuca. Coming out of the hangar, coming off and taking off.
Interesting.
Not landing, taking off out of, and the hangar, and UFO, oh my God, Fort Huachuca is an underground base.
Yeah.
There's very few buildings above ground. So yeah, our governments, in fact, you can find on the History Channel the shows all about Hitler, and the videos about his UFOs that he made, that made public back in 1945. So yes, we've been making UFOs. I mean, that's why a lot of people ask me, if a UFO came down and said, "Come with me, I'm your God," or whatever, what would you do? And what I would do is run the other way, because the guys I talk to don't need a UFO or a craft to come talk.
Right. One other point I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about they came to take babies or to get your eggs or whatever. Well, I had my tubes and ovaries removed and my whole hysterectomy.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't it.
Right. No, energy. I got to tell you, when I said that, because there's another thing also, especially for those that are like expressive in their intuitive abilities. It's like they're doing more kind of like mind stuff with us and energetic stuff. It's not about our bodies, they don't care. It's about taking our eggs and our energy. So, and they find out different like triggers and different, things that they can use to tap into. I mean, I was told again by a military insider years ago, actually, this was probably more than 10 years ago, that and this was a doctor working in the field for for military, that they can actually, what they do is record brain waves. And then so when and I'm talking at birth, they record your baby's brain waves. And then they put them into the system because it's all cyber, it's all AI. And so they put them into the system, which is another way to track you. And not only can they, have to, I guess, do a checkup on you every couple of years. You know what I mean? So you could probably go a couple of years without being any kind of contact, and then you'll have contact. You won't, again, always remember it. So there's all kinds of stuff. We could probably talk for another hour or two, because when we're talking about UFOs, it's so much more than just seeing a craft anymore, especially for those of us that have been seeing them for the last 50 years or better part of. Again, I'm 29. Don't you guys forget it. So yeah, but definitely there's all kinds of things that's going on. And yes, Germany is initially the ones that publicly came out with it, but I think that we were developing it way before that. With Germany, again, when the situation in Germany, the war happened in Germany, a lot of the scientists and doctors came on over to America and continued their work. So if you ask me, Germany really won the war because they're all over the place now, scientifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brian is asking if Christina has seen a UFO.
I've only seen one. I'm not one of the lucky ones that's got all these great stories. I'm like, they forgot about me. No, I'm just kidding, guys. You can forget about me. Okay.
Be careful.
I'm just kidding. I'm good. I'm too old to mess with you guys, and I have no ovaries, so just leave me alone.
Shit. It's bad.
Yeah, no, my energy's blah right now, so you don't want it. It was in 82, 83. I was living in Mount Pleasant, Texas. My husband and myself, and my son was just an infant. He was born in 82, so he was tiny. We were in our pickup. We were going to my mom and dad's house in Mount Pleasant, and we noticed everybody's pulled over in this town. And Mount Pleasant's a mid-sized town, not big, not little. And all these cars were pulled over. It was about dusk. We're like, why is everybody pulled over? And they're looking up in the sky. And so David, my ex-husband, and myself were like, we better see what's going on. So we pulled over, and we got out of the truck, and we looked up in the sky. And the whole town was looking. And it was 3 UFOs. They were huge, football field size, absolutely gargantuan. They were so big. They were probably 5,000 feet up in the air, but they were so huge we could see them really good. And they were metallic-y, and it was sunset, so the sun was just kind of glaring on them. That's how we could tell it was metallic-y, a shine. They had lights on them, but they were in a triangle formation, which, from what I've read and what I understand in my research, that's very common to see a triangular formation. But little balls came out of them, and the little balls would fly around. And then they would go back inside, and then thousands of these little balls were coming out. They were dropping balls, these bright little balls, and they would go back up in these ships that were stopped in a triangular formation. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this went on we watched them, and I was scared. I was crying actually, and there was a car next to us, and his wife was crying. We were like, "Oh my God, we're being invaded. We're gonna die and have a baby." So, I'm only 23. Come on. And so this went on. This went on probably for 5 or 10 minutes, and David said, "We're gonna get in the truck. Let's go. Let's go." We were only a few minutes away from my mom and dad, so we got in the truck and we went to my mom and dad's, and it was still out there. And so, oh my God, So I ran in and said, Mom, Dad, come on. My brother was there. And I said, come out, look, oh my God, come out. And so they came out and they saw it. And we watched it for another 5 or 10 minutes. I can't tell you exact time. And it just went, it was gone. I never saw this. The only time I ever saw anything like it, never saw anything like it again like that. But I tell you what, those were UFOs. We turned on the news right away. Right away. We couldn't get it on the TV, but my dad got it on the radio, the local radio in Mount Pleasant, and it said, there's numerous sightings, and people are flooding our phone lines, and then we were like, oh my God, we're invaded, And so we were scared. We didn't sleep well that night. I was so scared I didn't want to go home, so we stayed the night with Mom and Dad. And we watched like the 10 o'clock news or whatever it was, and nothing said. Nothing said.
Right.
Nothing said. So we listened to the news the next morning on the radio. Nothing said. On the news, nothing said. On the TV, nothing. We never heard another thing about it. Although the town, we mumbled about it for quite a few months.
Right.
People, but the media, the newspaper, nothing. Just for that little bit of time.
Wow. Yeah. No, they don't talk about it. It's just like, any. In fact, you're going to see more in today's news than you do than you're going to back in the 80s. And someone's asking why so much stuff in the 80s. To think about it, what was going on in the 80s? What kind of, not just the wars,
Madonna.
but
They're checking out Madonna.
they're coming to check out Madonna. That's awesome.
Anyway.
But there, oh my God, so much stuff was going on in the 80s. Not only that, a lot of them were probably man-made. But also, you're asking, what do aliens need our energy for? It's like food to them. I mean, if you think how we feed off of each other, metaphorically speaking, they feed off of
We're like
us
a magnet.
energetically.
We're like a magnetic energy, and how a magnet could, you could drain. Something could drain the energy out of a magnet. That's what they're doing. We're a magnet. We're magnetized, so to speak, and they're coming up and draining that out of us. That's what they do. That's what the shadow people do too.
Right.
It really is like a food.
Oh, and Brian, if you talk to some people that I've talked to, we're already on Mars. We have colonies that have been on Mars, actually.
Really?
For over 50 years. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you look at Laura Eisenhower, she's the granddaughter of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. She will tell you she was raised in that group, if you will, of the elites. And so there's all kinds of programs that are going on. But she was actually, they tried to get her to go to Mars. And she didn't want to go. She did not want to go to Mars. She wanted to stay here. But they were like, infiltrating her life and making it very difficult for her to remove herself from that offer.
John Carter's been there, and he's my boyfriend.
John Carter. Also, if you listen to Gaia TV, you can hear Corey Good talk about what his experiences are with Mars as well. And why were we talking about going to Mars if we ain't already been there? Hello. They've already been there. They've been there. They've been there.
I'm very on the fence with the Mars thing. Very on the fence. So.
Why? It's just
that's
another
all right.
planet in our solar system. Why couldn't we go there?
Why not?
We go to Mars, or we go to the moon. We can go wherever we want. But anyway, they already have that kind of stuff. All right. Thanks for coming in, Brian. Appreciate you. What do you think we will do if we discover a species that is less intelligent than us? We already have it. Men. No. Ooh.
See, that's the problem with the human race. We think we're superior.
I know. And I was just joking, Brian. You're very intelligent. I'm just kidding.
We are the armpit of the universe, trust me.
But there are less intelligent. I mean, there are less intelligent, and we already have them here on this planet.
The amoebas.
That's the crazy part, too. You don't know who you're dealing with. Those, Oakley hillbillies from who, what? The alien. Yeah, lower intelligence. I'm just kidding. God, I have a sense of humor. Diane saying, may I run something by you, please? Sure. We don't want to keep y'all too much longer. We know it can get boring just listening to us chat. So come on and help us chat. Yes. Come on in.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry. I don't.
No, you're good. Come
I
on.
wanted to run this by all of you guys and get your opinion on this. This kind of thought came to my mind when you all started talking about all this stuff, especially with shadow people and stuff like this. I had a very, very uncomfortable.
Girl, honey, girl.
I had a very.
Sandra, we can hear your husband. Okay.
I had a very, very uncomfortable experience doing a reading the night before Halloween. I was actually doing a second party, and the very last guy that I read for made me very, very uncomfortable. So bad to the point that I was freaked out. I would not walk out to my car until I knew that he was gone. When he finally left, I took my stuff. I went to go walk out to the car. He was actually sitting in his car with the lights on in the middle of the parking lot. He had already pulled out of his parking spot. I stood there on the sidewalk, and I waited until he finally left before I walked to my car, because I was just like, you are not going to know what car I drive. I almost felt like he was evil. I can't explain it. And I was driving home. I was paranoid. I thought I was going to be followed. And what it kept coming to mind was like this really creepy guy wearing a black hat. I can't explain the way this guy smiled, the way he looked. I can't explain it. He was also a minister. And the psychic medium that I was with kind of laughed off the way I was feeling when I told her I don't like the vibes I'm getting. It's not good. And she's like, oh, he's a minister. I said, yeah, that's exactly my point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, after hearing all of this, I'm wondering if he isn't like, I don't know, maybe he's an alien or something. I don't know. It was just really trippy, and I had never felt that. In fact, I shouldn't say that. I hadn't felt something like that since I was young.
Right.
And
I agree with Brian. It's like more is what I'm feeling. It's not that he's alien, and here's the thing. You know, again, what we want to call an attachment in a shadow guy can very well be reptilian energy.
Okay.
And so you were probably feeling his attachment.
It was creepy.
And let me tell you, the pedophiles that are in the churches, don't believe me.
Yeah.
Don't believe me. They got attachments.
It freaked me out because I couldn't pinpoint it. I just knew that it's something was off and that he's not good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's all I could, you know.
Right. Well, that's your discernment. You know, we all have that discernment. We're able to feel that. If you're feeling it, then please pray for them.
Yeah.
Please do not just say, oh, I feel bad, because people do that. You know, it's just, oh, I just feel bad, and they walk away. But what we need to do is try and transform that energy in that moment so that you don't take on that icky feeling, you know, it doesn't follow you home, and you're praying for them as well. It's edification for both.
Yep.
Okay, well,
that moment.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing that with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Come on back. All right, so anyone else want to share a story before we go ahead and let you go? We went over tonight. Woohoo, it was a good show.
Yeah.
Nikki saying she thought her husband was an alien for a long time. He was asleep one night while I was awake. He rolled over and looked at me, and his eyes were completely red. When he blinked, his eyes were normal again. I still don't know what that was about. Again, that can be attachment series. I mean, that, you know, again, when we're talking about transforming any kind of eyes, it can be alien, but we also want to know that alien energy is what we see as demons. We can see them as demons. We can see them as shadow guys. All these things.
Yeah, one of the things that I think that comes to mind, Nikki, is that when we go to sleep at night, we actually do transcend the body. We leave the body and travel into other realms. And so it kind of makes me wonder with, you know, him opening his eyes and you see the red, kind of makes me feel like that, and he probably doesn't even remember it, to be honest, but who was in that body, because he had left that body during the dream state.
That makes sense.
That's
You know
you.
what I mean? You know,
And, you know, the same thing can happen when they're really drunk. People have blackouts. They can get infiltrated. People will jump in. I mean, not people, spirits will jump in.
I can have spirits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've sat in bars and watched them.
It could just be an energetic thing too. That red, the red pigment could just be an energetic thing that shows. What's the old phrase? The lights are on, but nobody's home.
Right.
He wasn't in there, but
Ah,
his eyes opened up. It could just be a pigmented thing too. I don't think it means that he was possessed or anything.
right. But he sleeps like the dead too. It's impossible to wake him most
Mary
of the
does that.
time.
Mary does that too. I think hers is drugs, but man, can't wait. She's dead.
Yeah, and he doesn't
No,
remember anything. So he more than likely does leave. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
All of us do. We don't remember it or not, but we do.
Right. We astral travel,
Yeah.
people do. I mean, if you watch the movie, and I always refer to movies because movies tell a lot of truth about realities going on in this world.
Yeah.
And the movie's Insidious, or where the little boy is like astral traveling while he's sleeping and he goes so far out into the everness that he gets lost. And actually body form, physical goes into a coma.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, possibilities. Possibilities are endless. I know.
Hey, Christina, don't miss and Solana and everybody else. Next Tuesday, the 12th, is the premiere of a new show called Shadow Hunters.
Oh, I saw that.
I want to see that, and I'm not into those kind of movies, or programs or what have you. But that one just for some reason it's calling my name, so I got to.
That should have been me. That's right. Dang it.
Right?
The trio here.
Yes.
I'll definitely be watching it and criticizing it all the way through.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
A lot of shows. A lot of stuff is reflective of what's going on. Also watch Person of Interest. You can catch up on Netflix on it, but it's a disclosure show. It tells you about the technology that they have and how they are using it.
Is
Pretty,
that
pretty
on
interesting.
Netflix?
Yeah, it's also on regular TV. It's got like 4 seasons on Netflix
Yeah, I
that
get
you can
caught
watch.
up on Netflix. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's like 23 episodes in a freaking season. So, oh my God, I've been watching it for weeks now.
What's
But,
it called? I keep forgetting. I can't
yeah,
remember.
I know. I keep telling you about it. It's Person of Interest. POI. POI. Good stuff. Check it out. Oh my God. All right. Anyone else want to say anything?
Yeah, well, I think we should share the story about when I saw a UFO when I was FaceTiming you. You remember that?
Go ahead, share away.
And first of all, let me explain that I'm very open-minded, and obviously I believe that there's aliens out there. But I've never seen a UFO. I've never experienced that I can remember. So I was on the balcony of my apartment talking to my mom on FaceTime, and we were probably a good half hour, 45 minutes into the conversation. The sun had just gone down, and I saw this green light pop up, and I was like, oh my God, what the heck is this? And this thing went left, right, up, down. This thing was zigzagging all over the place. I had chills and goosebumps. I was freaking out. While on the phone with my mom, I'm like, oh my God, I see a UFO. And she's like, what? I'm trying to show her, so I'm like, I got I'm over here. Look, you got to see it. Can you see it? She's like, I don't see anything. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get Connie. So I run in and get my wife. I say, Connie, there's a UFO outside. You have got to see it. At the time, I was smoking a tobacco pipe. I was trying it out, and it didn't last long. But anyways, that's another story. So she comes out there, and the thing's gone. I'm like, I swear to you, I saw a green light. This thing was zigzagging all over the place. She goes back inside, and she's like, whatever, And anyway, so, 5-10 minutes goes by, and there it is again. It pops up. And it's zigzagging all over the place. And I'm like, I cannot believe I'm seeing this. This is crazy. And we were just talking about this being a potential thing. So I run back in, I go get Connie, and bring her back out there, and again, she doesn't see it. It disappears. Later, we found out that it was a drone.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
He was so disappointed.
Because here's why. Like, when it comes to the paranormal world, when it comes to this thing, I really do try to approach everything now. I try to debunk it before I believe it, and the reason for it is because I've always seen spirits. I've always seen different paranormal things in my life. I grew up seeing this stuff. So this one time we just moved to Houston. My wife and I were newlywed, and we moved into this apartment that was old. It was probably good 45, 50 years old. People were saying it was haunted. And, you know, we felt weird. I felt stuff there. I didn't feel anything horrible, but I felt things. And well, anyways, we woke up one morning, and all of our cupboards and drawers were open. Every single one of them. And, you know, I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I closed them all up, and everything was fine. The next morning, same thing. All of our cupboards and drawers are open. And so anyways, you know, I'm like, okay, I got to smudge. I have to smudge. I'm calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, we got a poltergeist issue going on at the apartment. Cupboards and drawers are opening up. I don't know what the hell is going on. And this went on for a month, guys. I was smudging every single night. I was demanding that these things and these go away, leave us alone. I changed my methods since then. But, you know, this went on for a long time. And finally, one night, Connie and I were laying in bed, and I heard the cupboards opening. I'm like, oh my God, I can hear it. So I snuck very slowly into the kitchen, turned my head around the corner, and I saw the entity. It had pointy ears, it had snake-like eyes, and sharp teeth. He even had a name, and his name is Toby. I wish he was next to me. I would show you what he looks like, but it was our cat. He was opening up the damn cupboards and the drawers. To this day, he freaking does it. So I have to tell you that I now approach everything with, let me try to explain this before I buy into the fact that it is paranormal or supernatural. So this way I don't look like an idiot anymore. And this was just a month ago that we saw this green light out there, and I got super excited. I've been waiting to see a UFO. Bought into it before I tried to debunk it, and it was a freaking drill.
Yeah, Brian, you got me all sucked into that.
I told him.
I was all like, oh my God.
I'm like, I don't feel nothing in your house. What? It was great. But it's true. It's like, you know, we want to make something out of something. You know, even a light in the sky. Oh, it's a UFO. But no. But I got to tell you, look up in the sky though, because if it's a flashing light, it's a plane. But we have seen UFOs following planes, like the blue light you said was coming out of that UFO you saw, Christina. I saw those same blue lights, like, you know, flying behind an airliner as it goes across the sky.
Every pilot I've ever known says that they've been followed by him.
Right?
I've known a few pilots in my day, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a cousin that's a pilot. He says numerous times he's had lights that are unexplained, and they're not, you know, and they're not planes in airspace.
Right.
You know?
Not at all.
They call them all the time.
Yeah, no, it's for reals. I mean, then I want you all to know that there is a disclosure video out, and it was done by Dr. Stephen Greer last November in Washington, and he gives his whole 25 years of evidence that he's collected, both personally and militarily. And
that video is amazing. I don't
oh
mean
my God!
But you people have got to see that video. You will start seeing things a little differently. I'm still not sold on Mars, but everything else I am.
Whatever. Why can one be not and the other?
I don't know, because I'm just not quite there yet.
Okay. Either way, Steve will tell you, we've been to Mars. We got colonies on Mars. We got colonies on all kinds of planets and planetary systems that are outside of our galaxy.
Miss Bell, you got to watch that video.
Oh yeah, you can find it on my you can find it on YouTube. I can't. It's not done by Dr. Stephen Greer.
I'll give him. They're not going to look for it. I'll give it to him.
But it's also on my in my blog, Ask Solana, on my site at psychicsolana.com. It's on my blog there. I've got it posted there. But it is a 3-hour and 50-minute movie. But oh my God, it's just so amazing the information that's in there, and not just the information, but the names, the people who are involved, and the government cover-up. It's all in there.
If you think about it, put it on your Facebook again. I'm going to save it too.
Okay, I'm putting it on my Facebook.
All
right, so anybody else want to add to this conversation? No? We're good?
I'm going to head off too, because I've got to spend a little time with hubby.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming and talking with us, and always for coming in and hanging out with us. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So amazing. You're so
Thank you,
welcome.
Belle.
Bye, guys.
And thank you all for coming in and joining the conversation. That is what we love about these kind of formats. You guys can come on, you can share with us. No calls have to be taking place. You're just right here with us, and you can come on and talk. Isn't it
Talk
awesome?
to us. I know.
So be sure and subscribe to our channel, like our videos, comment on them, let us know what you're thinking. And if you've had an experience, let us know. We might have another roundtable if we get enough people letting us know that they had experiences and want to come talk about it. Because I think it's important that we talk about it. It doesn't feed the energy. It just keeps us aware. And that's
Yep.
the important thing to keep foremost in
Absolutely.
your mind. So thank you,
I
guys.
agree.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Miss Christina. I love
Well,
you.
thank you
Miss seeing your
so
pretty
much.
face.
Yeah, you too.
All right, girls. Thank y'all for coming in, and for Brian for hanging out with us too tonight. I
Yep.
appreciate that. I know it's a
And
work
all of
night
you
for you.
guys.
All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast. But for those of you that are in the chat room here, you can hang out for a little bit and talk if you like. We're just going to stop the live broadcast. So we'll see y'all on YouTube next time.